Hello YouTube, my name is Polipede Works. First time on YouTube with this video. I come to you today to kind of explain some thoughts I've been having on Zoan devil fruits. Says that in the title. So, a little bit about me. I've been a One Piece fan for about 18 years. Like most people in North America, I was introduced to One Piece through the Fox Box, which was the Saturday morning cartoon block back in the day, like in the early 2000s. From then, back then, YouTube had a whole bunch of those fan sub episodes of One Piece floating around. So I basically got into the current events proper through Ennis Lobby, and then started reading the manga weekly from, say, end of Ennis Lobby into Thriller Bark. So, breaking things down, if you aren't familiar with One Piece or what devil fruits are, gonna go through them real fast. There are three types, as you may or may not know. There's Paramecia, Zoan, Logia. The focus of today's video is Zoan, but here's a rundown of the other two. Paramecia basically means that you get a power that isn't turning into an animal or a classical element found in nature. Zoan, the subject of this video, basically turns you into a lycanthrope, someone who can transform into various animals, not just wolves, but like birds and spiders and sometimes humans. Taking a small stopgap on that, I always found it super interesting that in the Zoan fruit category that there are multiple subclasses. So there are carnivorous Zoans, there are mythical Zoans, there are ancient Zoans, and there are even instances where inanimate objects such as teapots and guns and swords can also eat fruits. You see this in Ennis Lobby with Funk Free, the elephant owned by Spandam. You see this a little bit beforehand with Lasso, owned by Mr. Four back in the Alabasta arc, and then you've seen it most recently in the manga. Also, spoilers ahead, because I will be talking about things that happened very recently in the manga. So I'll let you know again, but there will be spoilers in this video. You see this little teapot guy who is the holder of the Tanuki fruit. And then, you have your Logia fruits, which are all classical elements. Or just elements you find in nature. So your magma, your fire, your lightning, your mud, your sand, your ice, etc. Okay. So winding it back to Zoan fruits. I want to really talk about, first things first, have you ever noticed when someone is a non-human that no matter what transformation they take, whether it be their base form, their hybrid form, or the full animal form, if they're non-human, the traits of their non-human form remain in some way, kind of no matter what. So let's take Chomper, for example. Chomper, no matter the transformation, is always furry and has a blue nose. You see this from the start in the pre-time skip, where he takes on a human form because he is the user of the human fruit, but he still looks like a Yeti, a Sasquatch, and he's treated as such by the people of Drum Island. But I think that's because he's a non-human that ate a devil fruit. A Zoan devil fruit. It doesn't just extend to animals, it extends to other races as well. For example, and spoilers ahead for Wano, tell you again, spoilers ahead. The Yonko Kaido, right, who is the user of the fish fruit model Azure Dragon, right? We see when he goes into his hybrid form and his full dragon form, he has 4 horns. Well, as an Oni, which we still at this time don't really know what a Oni is, but we can assess that an Oni is a person of great strength who has horns growing out of their head. And no matter what form Kato takes, he still retains those horns, which is very interesting. Same goes for his daughter Yamato, whom, even though she has a mythical wolf fruit, she retains her horns no matter what. Just an interesting point as an observation that I don't think a lot of people bring up. Also, kind of a side note, wanting it back to animals eating devil fruits, or objects too. Peri, the bird owned by Ganfall in Skypiea, can become a Pegasus because it ate the horse fruit. As a horse or as a bird, its coat does not change. So he's always brown and pink, no matter what. It's a little harder to discern with the item Zoans, the items who have eaten devil fruits, because they don't really have a full breadth of transformations, which is a very odd sort of caveat about them. I think the only one who's ever had like sort of a set of 3 stages was Funk Freed, because you see him as a sword, you kind of see him as a elephant sword hybrid, and then you see him as a full elephant. However, even as a full elephant, he's got this sort of weird braided, I guess you could call it like a saddle hat, which I assume is a part of the sword, but who's to say? There's also Smiley, which is a very interesting one, who is a kind of a partial Logia because he's gas that ate an axolotl fruit. I believe the wording is lizard model axolotl, and because he is gas, he can retain a full axolotl form, but he's always kind of goopy. So yeah, moving on. This is kind of like 3 theories in one, actually. Covering that, you remember when Pell said there were 5 types of flying fruits in the world? I don't think he was lying. I don't think so. I think even with all the crazy stuff that's happened for the past 25 years, that statement still holds some water if you organize Zoan fruits like this. So when you have a Zoan fruit, right, it says animal, model, whatever, right? So it could be bear fruit or kuma fruit, model panda, or model grizzly bear. Think about it as if you were taking the front end of that. So where it says animal, consider that part and only consider that part and ignore the model classification. If you do that, then the number of devil fruits who give the user flight out of the box significantly shrinks. As to say, there was no sort of technique or special martial art that allow this devil fruit user to fly. So this eliminates guys like, say, Buffalo or Luffy or Robin, who have sort of engineered ways of flight via using their abilities. I'm talking about users like Pell, who ate the bird fruit model Falcon, or Marco, who ate the bird fruit model Phoenix, or the 2 Tontada who ate bug fruits that allow flight. That's who I'm referring to. So, breaking it down by families of fruits, the fruits that allow flight are the bird fruits, because you have Pell and you have Marco, who are the users of the Falcon fruit and the Phoenix fruit, respectively, under the classification of the bird fruit. You have the dragon fruit model class, because you say you got King, who's the user of the dragon fruit model Pterodon, and that allows him flight. And he's another one too, which is kind of weird. That's a non-human whose racial trait kind of sticks out no matter what, because he's the sort of fire stays on no matter what form he's in. But moving forward, that's 2. Then you would have the bug fruit models, because the bug fruit model Hercules beetle and Japanese giant wasp or giant hornet, well, both of those bugs can fly. So that's another one. Now, fourth is actually not a Zoan fruit. It's a Paramecia fruit that allows fly out the box. The float fruit that is currently being held by Shiki the Golden Lion, because he can make things fly in sort of like his own sort of personal ability, is that he himself can fly. So at the moment, there are only 4 devil fruits that allow flight, if you look at it that way, which that's going to be important in the next topic that I talk about. Now, moving on, when we talk about Zoan fruit awakenings, right? And major spoilers ahead, okay? Keeping in mind what I said about the flying fruits, in which the first part of the fruit's name is the clincher. That's the one that matters. If you look at it that way, current events make more sense. So let's look at things like this in terms of awakening, or just in terms of, let's say, mythical Zoans, okay? Some powers that mythical Zoans have are always on. For example, and again, spoilers for this part, Orochi, the Shogun of Wano, he has the mythical Zoan fruit known as the snake fruit model Yamato no Orochi, right? So when he is beheaded, I originally thought that a user of such a fruit needed to be at least partially transform or transform in some way in order for their powers to activate. Not the case. When we're talking about some abilities, and it can be a grand number of things because it differs from fruit to fruit. But no, in terms of Marco or in terms of Orochi, their powers are always on, which is why Orochi survived the decapitation. There have been several times where Marco was able to summon blue flame without having to transform into a partial or a full phoenix. Moving forward and keeping that in mind, I'll say this, based on current events, I truly do think that the reason why with sort of when a human eats a human fruit, the reason why we have this situation with Luffy where he has awakened and become this sort of this Nika figure is because when a individual eats the same kind of fruit that they are, so let's say if a bird like Karu ate the phoenix fruit, I believe the Paramecia qualities of a mythical Zoan, the things that aren't specifically tied to being the animal, so like all the animal transformations, in that situation, I don't think the user has access to those things because they overlap with what they are, and the true nature of the fruit doesn't come out until they awaken. Now, the mechanics of an awakening are a little bit vague at the moment, but I truly do think that when a human fruit is eaten by a human, they basically are a Paramecia if that human fruit has any sort of outstanding characteristics. So, say for the only other example in this series of this is Sengoku. There aren't a lot of times that we see Sengoku in the past with Garp, but curiously, when we have seen him, he never transforms. Now, we don't know exactly when he got his human fruit model Great Buddha, but I'm willing to bet what we see in Marineford, that is his awakening. That the giant golden Buddha transformation that makes the shockwaves, I honestly think that's his awakening. Because let's think about what he would be without that transformation. He'd be potentially very smart, which sort of leads into his nickname of being the Great Buddha, because perhaps having such a fruit has given him some sort of enlightenment. Maybe he has become smarter from eating the fruit, and that's sort of like a passive ability. So kind of like, say, with Chomper, how no matter what transformation he's in, he retains all his intelligence and he can still speak. Think of it like that. So he's not transformed, but he has this sort of unique super intelligence. In terms of the shockwaves, perhaps he could have done those as well. But if I were to sort of break things down, I would assume at least that he would have the super intelligence and perhaps the ability to make weaker shockwaves, which become more potent later on in his life once he achieves an awakening. If you look at it that way, I think that's why it was very easy, though still a bit controversial, but very easy to assume that Luffy, the majority of the story, was a Paramecia fruit user, because as a human who ate the human fruit model Nika, the only properties of Nika that were separate from a normal human were the properties of having a rubber body and what that entails of. So being highly resistant to blood damage, being able to stretch, being able to inflate like a balloon, the sort of cartoon physics his body has, such as inflating his bone structure via blowing into his thumb and inflating his muscles for gear 4th, pumping air into his circulatory system for gear 2nd. All these things make sense because Nika, even though Nika is sort of like a in-universe figure, but for what we know, it makes sense because the body of Nika is supposedly just rubber. Now, what we see later on, the sort of free stretching, the free gigantification, the free muscle manipulation in this Kaido fight, those are all things available to him because he is awakened now. Though, here's the point of contention that I am concerned about in terms of non-human fruit eaters, people who have just eaten your run-of-the-mill beast fruit and they are sentient beings, right? The problem I think that may be occurring is what we see back in Impel Down with the demon guards, because the sort of weird trait that they all seem to have is that they all seem to be humans who have eaten Zoan type devil fruits, right? And being awakened, which we don't know how they are awakened, they have this sort of extreme toughness, which I think is a trait amongst all Zoan fruit users, which is why you have kind of outrageous stuff happening, like Pell surviving the explosion. I think that's due to just natural Zoan fruit user toughness. I honestly think that's why. Still kind of a cop-out, but that's a reasonable explanation. Silly, but reasonable. The problem, though, is that when you're a human that eats a beast fruit, I think no matter who you are, I may be proven wrong, but I think it's more of a detriment or a last-ditch effort than it is a usable tool in one's kit. Because what I think that happens is no matter who you are, if you are a human or a sentient creature that has eaten the beast fruit, you'll probably become a mindless ogre of sorts. Like, you don't have any higher faculties, you just have instinct, which could be good or bad depending on one's situation. Because the problem here is sort of the lack of information we have, because we don't know if the demon guards could use haki. Though, then again, too, there aren't many animals in the One Piece world from the canon material, the events that actually happened, that can use haki. Because the only animal I can think of, like franchise-wide, that's ever been a user of haki was that one alpaca who was actually a canon from that filler. But otherwise, yeah. So if you're awakened and you're a person who's eaten just an animal devil fruit, I don't think you could use haki or any sort of tactical use of abilities when you're like this mindless beast creature, which we'll see in the aftermath of this Kaido fight what happens. But if Kaido doesn't do it, I'm kind of under the suspicion that it may not happen unless we're fighting another person who uses a version of the human fruit. Because, well, this was said for years. Monster Point Chomper was said to be sort of like a pseudo-awakening or somewhat awakening adjacent. And quite frankly, he could be awakened. Perhaps the only thing that's left is for him to actually access Monster Point naturally. But as it stands now, there's not really that much difference between, say, how he looks and how the demon guards look. And it sort of works in reverse for him because he's an animal who ate a human fruit. So in a roundabout way, he would look similar to the demon guards because there's still like a weird beast to human relationship in terms of user. It's just the roles are flipped, and perhaps he has an easier time controlling it because he ate a human fruit. He was granted intelligence, like when I was talking about flight a little earlier, with the human fruit models, if you don't have it, say if you're an animal or an object, intelligence and sentience is a part of the kit. You get those for free when you eat the fruit. So yeah, it was probably easier for him to maintain sentience once his body got used to transforming into Monster Point. It's also very interesting how his drawbacks and Chomper's drawbacks and Luffy's drawbacks end up being very similar, because, say, recently, for example, his sort of new Rumble Ball makes him shrink down into tiny child grandpa Chomper, which is very similar to Luffy's previous weakness with Gear Third back in the pre-time skip, to where he would become Chibi Luffy in accordance to how much he used Gear Third. I think that was a very interesting little narrative kind of secret or hint that Oda put in to relate the two. But yeah, that's what I think. Getting back to humans who have eaten animal fruits, beast fruits, I just don't think awakening is viable, because we have seen now, especially in Kaido's crew, several people who are devil fruit users first and martial artists second. So say, like back in Enies Lobby with the CP9, those who were Zoan fruit users and were 6 power users, I would say they were 6 power users first, because a lot of them were specialists in a particular form of the 6 powers. Like, say, Jabra was a specialist in Iron Body because he could move while using Iron Body. That's a trained thing that he then used in accordance with his dog fruit model wolf, right? Same thing with Lucy. He most certainly is a martial artist first and a devil fruit user second, because based on how the narrative was framed, the leopard transformations were just a means to an end for dealing with difficult opponents, because his human form was more than capable most of the time. It came in handy against someone like Luffy, because the majority of these 6 powers capabilities were ineffective while Luffy was a human, because they were all sort of just blunt attacks. And then 2, we see with the Beast Pirates, say OT, Page 1, Black Maria, Sasaki, kinda X Drake too. All of these guys basically are devil fruit users first. There aren't many outstanding martial arts techniques, I would say, that take precedent in their kit over transforming into a dinosaur or some sort of ancient creature. The only martial artist in that entire faction is Who's Who, because he, like Lucy, is a 6 powers user. In fact, a 6 powers user who's said to be somewhat on par with Lucy, though his fight with Jinbei was kind of short, so it's a little hard to tell how the two compare, because I would still say that post-time skip Lucy is still significantly better than Who's Who, because Lucy could use 6 King Gun, which is sort of the secret 7th technique of the 6 powers, and Who's Who did not use that in his fight with Jinbei. So yeah, that's sort of like a soft indicator that Who's Who isn't as accomplished as a martial artist as Lucy. But all the other Beast Pirates, Kaido and Yamato included, seem to be fruit users first and foremost. Kaido, it gets a little muddier, because we see that in his sort of history that he got his fruit a bit later on in life, like in his teens, given to him by Big Mom. But still, that's fairly early, I would say, and that seemed to be the linchpin in his success as a Yonko, because he was so big and domineering now as a dragon, on top of already being monstrously tough in being a superhuman Oni, whatever that may be, because we still don't know what Oni is. Yamato, same way. Even more so with her, because she kind of parallels with Luffy in that she got her fruit when she was a child. She just ate it because she was hungry. So she's been a wolf fruit user for a long time. And then the sort of techniques that her father passed down to her just sort of stacked on top of her being a Zoan pill fruit user. In the future, though, I do wonder, say with Momo, for example, Momonosuke, with him being a artificial Dough fruit user who is very similar to Kaido, can he awaken? You know, can even Smile Fruits awaken? Because from what we have seen, they cannot, and they're sort of just stuck in this weird in-between state between being human and animal. So that's sort of their lot in life. Momonosuke does seem to be a little different because he can transform. Don't know if he has a hybrid state, but he does have a full dragon state, and he has a human state, obviously. So yeah, no hybrid state yet, but we shall see. It's also kind of interesting too that the devil fruit is described as the fish fruit model Azure Dragon, going off the whole carp jumping over the gates myth. You know, the carp jumped over the waterfall through the 7 or so gates and became a dragon. You see this in Pokemon too with Magikarp. That's why Magikarp becomes Gyarados. And I guess Feebas and Melodic too. It's the same sort of idea. But with that, I do wonder, why is Momonosuke pink? Because, I mean, it's in the name of the fruit. It's literally all in the tin. Fish fruit model Azure Dragon. Why is he pink? Could that be the failure that Vegapunk was talking about? Perhaps it could be. The theory is that I don't think that humans who have eaten beast fruit can reliably awaken without going mad, and that when a human, or not even a human, when a being who is of a similar type to the fruit that they're eating, they don't get any sort of transformation until they awaken. And it's not just with mythical fruits either. I don't think so. I think that's a sort of flatline case with anything. So let's say, for example, if a cow, right? Let's say if a cow ate a giraffe fruit, I don't think, funnily enough, I don't think the cow would see any benefit from said giraffe fruit until they awaken. Perhaps then they would become a weird giraffe cow, you know? Or say, even more outlandishly, if perhaps the giant snake on Skypiea, perhaps if that ate the Yamato no Orochi fruit. Well, Yamato no Orochi fruit is a snake fruit, so perhaps the snake wouldn't be able to do anything but have some sort of low line regeneration until it was able to awaken that fruit and become a true Yamato no Orochi. I know it's a very odd concept to think about, but I never heard anyone bring this sort of idea up for as long as I've been in the One Piece community. So I think that's what's going on. If you are the same type of being that the fruit is, you don't see any benefit until you awaken. And that's a flat rate throughout all the Zoan fruits. That's what I think. So in more sort of perhaps obscure cases, maybe the dinosaurs on Little Garden wouldn't transform either if they ate a dragon fruit that was a dinosaur. Or since dinosaurs are classified as under sort of the dragon fruit class, perhaps it wouldn't even matter what kind of dragon fruit they ate, they wouldn't transform, because the actual dragon fruit, like what you would classically think of in being a dragon, is a fish fruit, which kind of opens up the door for there being other fish fruits. But yeah, that's the theory, and thank you for watching.